Hello. Oh, it's on, John. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Oh, we're here somewhere. There we are.
Amateur hour.
Well, we're just showing the studio. You know, we've had guests in this morning. We've just done
You've been busy.
busy. And now here, me and John, it is Monday the 11th of November. John, you were at the London Stadium at the weekend. How do you feel about the points? Is it a good point? Is it an opportunity missed? What was your overriding
If
view?
it's a binary event, as in, not just sitting on the fence, with bullshit like draws away from home are good. I think on balance, it's another missed opportunity, I think. Watching it in the ground, I had the good fortune for however many times I've been to that place since it opened, I've been to all of them, to be on the lower part. Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
So you're not up in the gods miles away. Yeah. And it's a decent view there. And it's a bit like being in the Park End, I suppose. It's a similar size. You're a bit lower down and stuff. But we just did what we've been doing for ages, really, which is unforced errors, which gives turnover away. And then in the second half, when they made some subs and had some legs, they could have won it. So if you based it on the last 20 minutes, happy with the point. Courtesy of Jordan, probably.
Yeah.
If you talked about the first 70 minutes, really disappointed that lack of ambition, a lack of progressive play, a lack of composure on the ball, and those unforced errors meant that again we could have got in front and perhaps just cruised to victory like better teams would. Not necessarily better players, but better teams. Yeah. Another missed opportunity, and they've mounted up since the season started, haven't they?
Yeah.
We can talk about games we led and lost. We can talk about games we were satisfied to grind out a draw and, with a little bit of ambition or a bit of more commitment, whatever. And it's just the way the season's going, one game at a time. What did you think? Because you guys watch it on TV. Often you see more on telly than we see in the ground, particularly if you're behind the goal and you're low down and stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
Again. I thought they were incredibly poor.
They are, yeah.
They were quiet. The ground seemed flat. And I thought if we'd have been a bit more progressive, we'd have won the game.
Yeah, so same view as the people, me in the ground, you on the telly, same view. Yeah.
And listen, that's not all on the manager. The players have got to take responsibility.
Totally.
Final ball, not good enough, not enough body. This could be on the manager. Don't commit enough bodies in the box. We just don't. It's just a fact. But players have got to do more. Decore taking an awful first touch after Garner plays him in.
Yeah.
It's a first time.
Yeah.
Or have the wherewithal to feint, to shoot, and just let Somerville go sliding past you and finish it. But he took such a bad first touch. The opportunity was gone.
But he took that touch because my view, and it was at our end that, of course, yeah, he didn't appear to judge the pace of the ball. It was almost like, I'm running into the box. Oh, the ball's in front of me. And he had to take a touch because it was almost under his feet, wasn't it? But yeah, and it's just frustrating because this is most definitely a group of players, and in moments in games, I don't mean by being particularly expansive, but we clearly did enough for us to believe it was a lost opportunity. Yeah, and it's true.
I think it was
we've done it at home as well. I mean, if you look at the last 7 games, taking out, the team who were rock bottom of the form table, the one that beat us, but all the others are, draw, win. It's like every other game's a draw, and they're the games those are the lack of points that are going to let us down in the end if we're not careful.
Well, we've lost 5 games out of 11.
That's true.
So I'm not sure where the 1 defeat in 7 comes from, because we've lost.
Because we lost 4.
We've lost 4
at the beginning. And we played 11.
Sorry. Yeah. But what I mean is that narrative, you can spin that into 4 defeats in 5.
There's 1,000 narratives you can play with.
We've won 7 games of football in 2024, and it's mid-November.
There's thousands and thousands of ways of interpreting numbers. It's why, we did the data scientist thing at Everton. The real value of data is turning it into insight that actually matters. If we play the games around numbers and you just thrown some about, then I would say, okay, if you've won what did you say, 2 in 17 or something? What was the one you
We've
just
won
did?
2 in 11.
2 in
We've
11,
won
yeah.
one away game in 17.
Yeah,
We've won 7 games of football in 2024.
Yeah,
3 of them are in 6 days.
Yeah, but
These numbers are not great, but you can spin it the other way and say, yeah, we've lost 1 in 7. We haven't nearly played anyone.
some spin is more valuable than other spin, isn't it?
No, it's
Like,
difficult, isn't it? Because
The recent numbers have more relevance than the ones of 1 win in 17 away from home. I agree with you. It's very much an ambition-based approach, or not, as the case may be.
well, I think I think there's quite a few teams who've won 7 games of football this season already.
Yeah,
And
we're only interested in that,
Everton
aren't
have won 7 since in 2024. Well, I'm interested in that because I think that shows you the terrifying nature of how poor.
No,
our form
we're
is.
looking for a mandate to be critical of.
No, I'm not. I'm saying.
No, just
I'm not
suffer
being.
me. It's
I'm literally just saying stats are stats. So I can, for everyone who goes, we've lost 1 in 7. I can say we've won 7 games of football since December.
But it's not
16th.
about a jousting session, is it?
No, but I'm talking about the relevance of stats. Are they can be any way you want them to sound.
And I would argue.
So I can sit here and go, Everton have won 7 games of football
Absolutely.
since December the 16th. And
Absolutely.
that's a fact. No one can say any difference because it's a fact.
Of course, it's a
But
fact.
you can also go, but they've only lost 1 in 7, so that could be an upturn in form, whatever. The biggest takeaway from me is the opening 11 games, we've won 2. And we've had opportunities to put ourselves not in the position we're in. Now we're going to have to really, not overperform, but we're going to need results in games that people would say we're unlikely to get points in. It never plays out like that. Everton will get some points in December in games people don't expect them to, because generally that's what we do.
That's also the way sort of footy is.
Yeah,
isn't
but that's
it?
so you sort of go.
We saw Tottenham had one yesterday.
Exactly,
sort of thing.
So let's see what happens there.
But I do think if people are, and I've seen it on social media, right? Those jousting sessions between the stats, and I think the underlying way to deal with that is there's a couple of things. Personally, I think the stat that says we've only lost 1 of the last 7 games has more force to it than the one that says we've only won so many in a year, right? Because it's currency, isn't it? That's present, right? But I think the underlying thing which is of value is, and we talk about it on this a lot when we're debating this, is should this manager be getting more out of this group of players? And it's a binary question then, yes or no, right? There are people out there who believe this is a cack load of players and the manager's doing a great job. I suggest, just based on the people who I interact with, that in the majority are those who think he's not getting the best from the resources available to him, which is my words, isn't it? Yeah. And therefore we have that inherent disappointment. It's great to say we've only lost 1 in 7, isn't it? Sort of. But that when people do that, they're missing the point. But the team we lost to are the cackest team in the league. And then you go, why did you lose? Because you played them like they were not the cackest team in the league, right? And then you got sucker punched, and your manager focuses on, you should have had a player sent off. No, you should have been out of sight before any of your contentious decisions arose. And I this because I go to the away games. I watch them having multiple conferences on the touchline again. I want to know what our manager and his assistants, his advisors, call them what you will, what planning they do around how we're going to play, what happens if it doesn't work, what sort of substitutions are we going to make, why are we going to make them, how do we deal with in-game decisions, i.e. things we haven't planned for happen, and so on and so forth. But, you've told me, because I missed it when it happened on TV, because you saw it on TV months ago, where you said the manager effectively turned to his assistants and went, what else am I going to do?
Spares away, yeah.
But he did that body language this weekend. So I'm assuming they were telling him or advising him to do things or not quite being comfortable with what he told them he was going to do. And he went, as if, what am I supposed to do? And then we see, of course, in the post-match press conference, he talks about we've got injuries, look how shallow our bench is, blah, blah, blah. And a soft interviewer allows him to say, 1 defeat in 7, another point on the road, and so on.
But they're real things, aren't they?
Of course they're real.
There is a point on the road. There is 1 defeat in 7, so he is right to sort of point.
But the point of slowly getting to, it's not how many you've got, it's how many should you have got.
Yeah.
And if we believe we're underperforming in the sense of opportunity, and you're right, I've done it because I think I sent it to you actually, a little thingy where all the teams were played, circled, and they're all, I think, other than Man United, I can't remember who the other one was, we played, everyone's down there, right? And last season's outcome and the gap between us and any potential for relegation was that we did have a season whereby the teams we should have beat, we did beat.
Yeah.
And we're not doing it now.
We're not doing it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the frustration.
And then when you play the teams you're not supposed to beat or get results from, you need to get them because you're it's like a golfer on the out nine, They're over par when that was the easiest part of the course. And now to get back to par, they've got to be under par on the harder bits. Yeah. And that's what we have to do. But obviously between now and then is Brentford, who have had a couple of results, got themselves up the table, but haven't won they haven't won a point away from home, never mind a game. When I told you that yesterday, I could hear you going,
well, it is, isn't it? Because that law of averages.
Thomas Frank's got his boys playing at home, and now for the pep talk, we're now going to Goodison, lads. We haven't won a point anywhere. However, we are going to Goodison, right? So yeah, very, very disappointing, Baz. Ultimately, again.
Alfie Boy on the Super Chat says 2 points dropped, bottom 3 by Christmas, relegation in my opinion.
I don't think.
No, I don't think we'll go down, but I understand. The worry and the fear, of course. Tony Rees says, afternoon, lads, another bottle job. Managerial display by Dyche. 2 points dropped. They were there for the taking first half, and his tactics allowed them to tiptoe their way back into a game. JD47 says, while we have Dyche, any points are points gained. Lucky not to lose to a poor West Ham side. SR says, should have been 2 points drop, but in the end it's a point gain because of Pickford. And they did it the post as well, of course.
They did, yeah.
Should have scored. Kingsley says, how did the tactics do that? We had 18 shots. Sometimes the players need to put the ball in the net.
There were low-value shots, weren't
the same, yeah, we didn't have any real. We had one real attempt, which was from Lindstrom. This is the same problem we've had with the last 3 managers.
So that's someone who thinks it's the player's fault, is it?
So you got to ask yourself the question. Again, I've said this. When people say that, I would say, okay, if Everton had the same players for 3 years, didn't bring anyone in, and this manager's been given these players, you are well within your rights to go, what else can he do then? Because every manager's this is a whole new team that he's working with, and therefore, so some blame has to be apportioned to the coaching staff or whatever. Or listen, maybe it isn't blame on him. Maybe he just can't get the best out of them. Therefore, that's why clubs change managers. It's not necessarily you're a bad manager. You just can't get the best out of these. So it doesn't really work, and someone else will come in and do something differently. So I don't think you can always blanket him as it's not his fault. The same way you can't always blanket him as it's all his fault. Do you know what I mean?
It's never all.
Not exactly so. Danny Church, who's a YouTube member, says, someone said to me it's 1 defeat in 7, which is good. I said it's 2 wins in 11, which is just not good enough. Dyche out. Fletcher says, definitely 2 points dropped. West Ham, one of the poorest sides in the league currently. Been reading the paper today. Get Moyes till the end of the season. Daniel says, Kingsley, mate, the ground was as quiet as a mug. We had the chance to hit them when they were down and we didn't. We created one big chance the whole game, which was Duke's 1-on-1. We were crap. Okay. KC says, we aren't getting relegated, but let's not be dramatic. But Dyche out. Okay. Danny Church says, Moyes wants longer than 6 months. I'd go for Simeone. I'm not sure he's coming unless you give him crazy money. Sophie's a YouTube member, says Ipswich winning away at Spurs makes me more livid. We could never go to those places and win. See, I watched bits of that yesterday, and I was amazed just how much Ipswich went for it. But they won ultimately. But seeing a team so attacking, it's like they're having a right good go. I'm not saying they're not perfect, of course not, but they haven't got Premier League quality players either. Like, full of them, are they? We saw them the other week when we went to Ipswich. But most teams do play on the front foot, and I think that's my worry with Everton, is that we just don't do that. We don't do it. I get it. I said it last week. Some games, you can't always do it. You can't always go, we're going on the front foot away at Man City, because you do have to sometimes hold your hand up and go, these are better than us. So do we try and dig out a result and go, if Everton went to the Etihad and got a 1-1 or a 0-0, we'd all go, brilliant point that. They're a great side. That's a tremendous point. But we don't. We sort of play with that kind of mentality, it seems, everywhere we go, and against everyone. It's that if we get a point, we're all right. We've done all right. And if we get the odd win, it's good. And I think that's what's wrong with it, as opposed to other stuff. But each to their own, isn't it?
Listen, we've this mythical 1 defeat in 7, which allows everyone to forget who the defeat was against, right?
You're really not happy with that, John? That's
no, I'm not.
Southampton.
No, I'm not. Absolutely not. Because I'm looking here now at the run of 7, which, as I said before, is draw, win, draw, win, draw, loss, draw. And so that's 4 draws in those. Obviously, by definition, if we won 2 and lost 1, must be 4 draws. But I never saw anything in any of those draws where you think, right, the manager's made a decision here, which is to try and steal this. You know, it's like the substitutions are decided on Wednesday, you know. We'll take Dom off and we'll bring Beto on. And the only debate is when. And we were comfortable, maybe is too strong a word when you look at what happened in the last 20 minutes. But until they made their changes and brought some legs on, we weren't having much difficulty at all, were we?
They weren't already, and that was my problem.
Yeah.
They were in no danger
it was
whatsoever.
Stagnant. It was a stagnant game.
Weird game, wasn't it?
Yeah, one of my mates come over, Robbie, if you're watching, lad, and he come over and said he had a Man United mate. He's got some lads who they meet every year on the West Ham games. Some are West Ham fans, some are just lads from their group and whatever. So he had a Man United fan next to him. Almost the beginning of the game, he turned to Robbie and said, "This has got 0-0 written all over it." You know, and their manager, pressure on him, made some changes. But that's what we make it easy for other managers to do. You talk about Ipswich going for it. They can go for stuff like Luton did, that expected to be relegated, that expected that the deeper into the season it goes, the harder it gets for them because of the shallowness of their squad and all those sorts of things. So caution and grinding out results isn't going to help them, is it? And perhaps their manager also knows, you know what? If you win 2 games and draw 1 in 3, that's a lot better than being undefeated with 3 draws. You know, 3 points is supposed to make you want to go for some of these things, you know.
That's why they changed from 2 to 3 points, wasn't
it? You know, so our, you know, wrapping draws around wins and defeats, just try and convert some of those draws into defeats, and that table looks completely different.
Someone made me laugh.
Completely different.
Said if you offered Sean Dyche 38 0-0 draws now at the start of the season, he'd bite your hand off for it, because he'd rather not concede than score a goal. 38 points, you'd be safe.
You're always going to concede goals in this division. I mean, failing that, we've had 2 0-0s, right? But they're very unusual.
We've also only scored 1 goal in 3 games.
But they're very unusual these days, aren't they? 0-0s. You know, and if you look at the people into their stats and stuff, and you look at points per game and all this sort of stuff, then I actually did this just to prove the point. You know, where we're talking about you make numbers look like you want. Yeah. Over the last 7 games, our points per game is 1.44. That would be career high for this manager and give us 55 points. But
before that, it was 0. Well, before.
Yeah, but if
Saturday was 0.9, wasn't it, overall?
But if you only go for the last 3 games, it's not much more than half by definition, 2 draws, and you'd only get 25 points. And then if you go for the season average so far, it's less than 1 point per game. Only just less, but it is less than 1 point per game. Therefore, you're on target for 35, 36 points. So you're saying statistically we could get, based on whatever you choose, between 25 and 55 points this season. Which is stupid. Absolutely stupid. Right? So lies and all that, you know. But reality is the manager's not for changing, and I don't mean him going, I mean his approach. And he will grind out, I would suggest, give or take, a point a game. And yet we've chatted about early in the season about what should his target be, which is more points than last season. So if we get less points than we got last season, then I can't...
Which was 48.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody, no matter how emotive you are about it, can conclude anything other than this group of players with this manager aren't good enough. And you're not going to change the group of players, therefore you will change the manager. And then it becomes a when, not an if. And the if opportunity is long since gone for the manager, I think. So it's not that, it's when. And the when, the ideal time if you were going to do it would have been to do it now. And therefore he's going to see that through, go into a January window, which may or may not be with a new owner. But we cannot buy players that suit this manager in January when we know he's going in May. Yeah. So you're really writing off the season, and that's when you get Ped's emotive last but one game ago or whenever it was when he did his instant match reaction-y thing where he said, we're all waiting for May. That's a truly sad indictment of where we're at. Meanwhile, we're not celebrating Goodison. What's happened to the events to celebrate Goodison being the last season? Was that just complete bull?
Well, everyone feels... I think people at the club realise that no one wants to celebrate anything because it's so grim.
Well, it's not what you do, it's the way that you do it. Because we will all...
Well, do you go to an event like now, Goodison, to celebrate it?
Not some cacky thing on the Gladys Street where you're paying 50-odd quid to hear stories you've heard before from players who haven't been here forever. No. But, you know what I mean? Or dress the place, you know.
I think the only... me personally, I think... that
everything's easier if you're winning.
That kind of stuff becomes more interesting
near the end. No, I appreciate that.
Than now. But if Everton were doing well, people would be more... It's like anything. We take it on here. People think when you're doing worse, we get more views. We don't. We get far more views when Everton are doing well.
Damn right we do, yeah.
I mean, we get crazy amounts of views anyway. I was looking over the weekend, there's like 86 million views this year so far across all our things, which is just mad numbers. With Everton doing all right, that'd be 130, 140 million.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because you want to consume everything. I want to be able to watch. I haven't watched Match of the Day for years. I haven't watched. It ruins my love of football because we are so, the way we play is just so antiquated. I watched our kids' teams yesterday and stood there waiting for us to start. There was another game on, just watching, all playing better football than what Everton do.
Yeah. And
they're just knocking it round and running and attacking. And listen, it's all variations, of course it is. I was watching Man City at Brighton at the weekend, and, you know, I wouldn't want to defend like Manchester City, who are shambolic at the back at the moment. But at least Brighton were just flying. I was looking, going, that's Brighton. Like, people can laud them or all you want, but it's a manager getting on the front foot with attacking players. Yeah, of course, you take the levels up. But that's what football's about to me. Football, for me, is about trying to win the game, not, how can we not lose the game? And everyone have got their own opinion. I don't. No one's right, no one's wrong. But me personally, just through my eyes, I like watching teams, like going for it. I like watching Brentford. Brentford are a bit mad, but like watching it. We could talk. I love Emery, but you could say Villa were incredibly naive at Liverpool on Saturday night. The 2 goals, Villa had one person back. The second one, I know they're 1-0 down, but still, Liverpool the fastest team on the break. But the 20 minutes in, and Villa have got 1v1 at the back. Absolutely crazy. You know, and the lad's trying to drag him. Was it Matson's trying to pull thingy down? Would have been a red card. You know, he stays on his feet and scores. That's a bit mad. I'm not saying be crazily naive, but I do like me teams going for it. Whoever I'm watching, not just an Everton thing. And I was looking at West Ham and thinking, your fans demanded, that's a stupid word, sorry. Your fans, a lot of your fans sort of wanted David Moyes out. And we're celebrating this fella who's coming, and yet this fella's way more negative. They were 44 minutes before they had their first shot.
Well, Tag talked about this when he was appointed.
No, we did.
You know, and said they want this more expansive style. In other words, the driving, if you want to call it that, David Moyes out the club because of his pragmatic approach to football, and brought in a bloke who's ever so slightly less pragmatic, but that little marginal difference is the difference between them being European challengers and scrabbling round the bottom.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You want your managers on the front foot. There's obviously different shades of manager, of course. There is.
Always.
You don't, Listen, I know some people would love Jose Mourinho and he'd be great box office and for a bit.
For 18 months, maybe. Yeah.
But the way he plays isn't very offensive. He's getting more and more pragmatic. Others would go for, no, let's play with, Alziadi, let's take 5 up front, remember? And you think, it'd be great as well. That's not right. But I just want my team to go and try and win. Whoever I'm watching, go and try and win the game and play on the front foot and don't try and, because I just think I think football's changed so much that these managers like Thomas Frank, it's why if I was Fulham Brentford on Monday night, Brentford were in injury time, winning 1-0, end up losing the game. But both of them are going for the win. Now, Brentford really should have dug in at 1-0, got into injury time. You should have gone full Sean Dyche in injury time to try and grind the result out. You could. Well, that's what Thomas Frank would say. He was asked about it and he was like, yeah, we were trying to get the second goal. Okay, they end up losing the game. Marco throwing everything at it, and they didn't equalise and go, points would be good now. They equalised them, and this is it. We've still got another 3 or 4 minutes.
You get momentum.
So it's about
Bournemouth know about momentum.
It's about being on the front foot, though, isn't it?
Of course it is.
And that's what I mean. Brentford at the weekend, them and Bournemouth were just like a ding dong. And Brentford won the last 5-3, 4-3, 3-2. Their last 3 home games, they scored a lot of goals.
Cack away from home, mate.
They are very good away, but I've saw them at Anfield. They missed 2 or 3 sitters and got beat. They were Fulham, like you said the other night, they were winning into injury time and got beat. They leave gaps. Man United, they were winning, missed an opportunity for 2-0. United scored 2 goals and turn it around. They lose the game. So they're having opportunities. Then you could go, well, if we'd have taken that, we win that game.
What really is...
I'm talking generally about it, not just specifically to Everton. I just mean games that I watch footy. I'd like to see those teams.
I mean, you checked out a while ago, right? In some sense, with this manager and this group of players, who just not target individuals sort of thing. What's getting to me is the perpetual talking down of our football club and the players. And, everything from, people whinge when I played 4-4-2. Now they're whinging when I'm not. Mate, it's about...
What he said?
Yeah. He was quoted as saying, for 9 years when I played 4-4-2, people said I was, being a bit boring. And now they're telling me I should be playing 4-4-2. And he's completely missing the point. You're supposed to be playing to the best strengths of the players you've got. And in-game management. If he changes his formation or his approach to formations, Baz, once every 9 years, don't expect him to make changes in 90 minutes, right?
Oh, I'm well past that, mate.
And then, the team interviewer rocks up after the game and gives him, dolly balls to smash out the ground. And so you are going to hear another good point on the road, because none of the questioning is, why have we not won this one? What are we going to do about it? Why have you only made 2 substitutions? So they know, they watch this stuff, they listen to it, and some of it comes out in the interviews. So I don't know if you watch this interview, but substitutions, he basically said, have you seen what I've got on our bench?
Did he?
He didn't use those words, but that was the sentiment. Have you seen what I've got on the bench? So now he's saying, I don't make substitutions because we're so shallow. 2 goalkeepers again, he said. Well, put 2 kids on instead. But then, of course, the response to that is having kids on the bench means they're not playing. So now he's saying, I'm not bringing forward youngsters because I want them to be playing in the under-18s or the under-21s or whatever. And there's some validity around that. But ultimately, all them academy age groups and all that, they're only there for one purpose, to strengthen the first team, either through sales, so we use the money, or to actually get in the team. And jam tomorrow about when Brozier or Chimiti or Coleman or Irabunum, and see, we can still say it even after all these months. We'll give James Garner. We'll give him a stronger bench. But by my recollection, when most of those players were in and around the bench, he wasn't bringing them on anyway, because he's wedded to a single, consistent style of play, which forces him emotionally down a route of like-for-like changes. Mad.
Fletcher
You obviously don't agree with me, but hey,
no,
that's my view anyway.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm
It's
just listening.
just so frustrating,
I'm just listening to
Baz.
what you're saying.
It's frustrating as hell because they're all capable of better.
I'll be honest, I feel like I'm in that state of limbo of this isn't going to be long term. So it's almost like just what Ped said, just get to me. That's how I feel. It's not, there's no sort of, I'm not even looking at it like we're building anything now. It's almost like this is just, you're just killing time here. This is what it feels like. Whereas, because, and I think this has come because I think the football club know that the manager's not staying. I think the manager knows he's not staying. Yeah. And it'll be, like you said before, it feels like, might be wrong, but it feels like it's a case of when, not if. And therefore...
It's emphatically when.
Everything's now sort of just like... I think the players feel like this, though. Yeah. I think it looks like, right now, Everton... The reason why Everton are in a bit of trouble right now is there's almost a shrug of the shoulders, a laissez-faire running right through it.
Totally.
And you watch the team and you go, they're similar. No one's busting. I'm not saying that lads aren't trying. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying Sean Dykes doesn't want to go out there and get a result and he's not doing his best. I don't believe that either. I believe every time he sends Everton out, he's looking for the best result.
He's not deliberately picking a weaker team
calling
or whatever
into question.
No,
his integrity, not in the slightest, or the lads who are on the pitch. But you see this with other football clubs. You see it running through. It's got a Man
We've
United.
Seen it in this club in the past.
It's got a Man United Ten Hag feeling this.
Yeah.
Just got a case of it's just like everyone's just like, what'll be, will be. You just go to the game and you go, let's see what happens today. They get beat or they don't win and you go, yeah, I don't know how to feel. We didn't get, was it 2 points? Was it a point gained? Was it? And that's where I am. So when you're saying that, I'm not disagreeing or I'm just listening to you and going, yeah.
I think that for me, because I have to go, I suppose, and you see it on social media. I think Barry Hancock was asking me, what the hell do you go for? To applaud a corner. He's been a bit facetious, but he meant respect to those who rock up every week. Every other week if you just go to home games, every week if you go to both. And I saw Boxy again at the ground with his dad, and I said, it's hard, isn't it, mate? He said, you know what? Because it takes him forever to get anywhere, And he was saying, I said, ended up in a conversation which was, it would have been an easy one just to say, I can't be asked today. I really cannot be bothered going, But you rock up, you do your 4 or 5 hours travelling, you see the team, you see Branthwaite's playing, who was very rusty, by the way, and then you see another predictable performance, It's just, they're grinding us down one day at a time, right? And the damage that does to your fan base, because as soon as you lose some fans, you might lose them forever. And you lose every subsequent generational one as well. We can have the joke with Boxy's dad to Boxy that it's his dad's fault. And his dad going, it's my dad's fault, actually. You know what I mean? And that's the multi-generational thing. It's just...
It's horrible, isn't it? Because, I'm at the stage...
You can't have a whole goddamn football club waiting for tomorrow.
I'm at the stage
just
where...
life doesn't work like that.
Like Zach wants to go to away games.
Yeah, he will, yeah.
And I'll be honest, I've got no interest in going because it's the effort. It's just like... And normally he's playing, so that's the reason as well. And it's obviously difficult to get tickets. But his mate went to West Ham on Saturday and he's like, we need... And I'm like, yeah, okay, mate. But I've got no inclination to drive 5 hours. So watch that. Yeah, but I've done it. I've been here, there and everywhere.
Yeah, but he hasn't.
I've watched them. I know, but it's not really my...
You can't decide for him, can you?
Well, I can't, because you can't get there unless...
That's what I mean.
In a couple of years, he can go wherever he wants and go and watch it. That's fine.
Well, there you go. Well, that's my point proven, isn't it? That it historically...
But they ground me down. I went everywhere. I got up and bleeding New Year's Day and get in the car and drive 6 hours to Charlton and things like that and drive home.
Yeah, been there, yeah.
And thinking we might win this. Even though they were probably, teams were better. I go Old Trafford every year, we might be able to nick something there. Now, it's just like... It's difficult anyway. I'm not saying it wouldn't. Someone said to me, or whatever, and he's not playing. That's a different thing. But he does play every Saturday. So, and he was out this week with a hammy injury, but he normally plays. So I would, if you saying to me, Everton or Zach, I go and Zach every time, every single time. Amazing. The likes of yourself get up and go and all that. But it is a case of that's where I am. I'm just in limbo. I'm in limbo with it. I'll be. I'm made up with a way. I'm made up. There's an international break, and I haven't got to go to Goodison at the weekend. I'll still be there for the Brentford game and every other game, but I'm not. I don't sort of get to Thursday and start going, can't wait to go to a match. Not at all. I just get, even Saturday, I'm like, go to the game in a minute. Know what I mean?
And that's what it's done.
Yeah.
And okay, it's
that's not just that's not just the team. That's the nonsense that Managerial's brought to my football club, and he's the single most reason, because he's been involved in decisions. And I blame whoever else owned the football club and whoever else owned it.
No, I get that. And the thing with picking on an individual, right, is when that individual's removed, and things don't change, do you pick on another individual, or do you try and deal with the underlying issues? And the underlying issues in this football club require far more effective leadership than we've got. Yeah, and there are people in that organisation right now who pass the buck to somebody else, and they can sleep at night because they're waiting for somebody else to make a decision. Yeah. But sometimes you have to confront constraint and you have to get on with it, right? But you know what, mate? May's a long way away.
Oh, no, listen.
May is a long way away.
We'll want these hours back on our deathbed, won't we?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's just the way it is. You should never wish your life away,
and yet we are weeks away from knowing how much the club want us to pay to watch this again next season. And I go back to, Tom, who saw the sleep out, and for various reasons, get married and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. He's here right now, going to Goodison with a season ticket, which he can't really afford because of, lifestyle things he's got to do, like pay for weddings and God knows, right? But because he has to be there for the last season at Goodison. And he said to me, and I have to be there for the first year at Bramley Moor. But after that, I'm done. Now, that means, logically, people like Tom have put the club on notice, haven't they?
Yeah.
You've got to change my mind, guys, please.
It's not the only one.
That's what I mean.
Mates who've gone 2 more years for me. And
that's what they're doing. They say, I'll do the last and the first.
And then I'm done.
And if it's still like this, I'm checking out. Mad.
There'll be others who take the place, so it won't matter.
But it's an erosive...
It's a sad thing.
It's an erosive thing, and a lot of what's going on would not be as bad. Because you talk about, wouldn't it be great if the team played on the front foot? If the non-playing employees of Everton played on the front foot, it wouldn't be this bad.
See,
they can't affect the results. They can't stop the manager picking whoever he wants and play whatever. But what goes around that, which is what makes this, a community asset, is not just the footballing side, and it's everything else as well.
I think you've got to, me personally, I think you have to. You'd have to make a decision, I think, about Everton in terms of, I'd love to sit in front of, I don't know, whoever. But he can say, for argument's sake, if they're going to come in, just say it's them, because they're easy to use. Managerial's checked out, so there's no point bringing him in. But say it was the Freakins. I'd love to sit in front of them with Kevin Thelwell there, because he's apparently makes the shit. Well, I don't know if he does, but he should do, because he's the director of football. And say, you have to make a decision about Everton Football Club. You either want it to be successful and your aim is to win the Premier League. That's got to, because if you're taking it over without that aim, what's the point, really? Because you should. Neville Southall said their aim for it. If you fall a bit short, you get Champions League or you get whatever. But the aim should be, we're going on a journey that wins Everton the Premier League. Yeah. Like FSG did with Liverpool.
A journey that results in us winning the Premier League. Like you can put a time scale on it.
No, I'm not. Listen, but that should be your start.
No, well, everything else flows from that objective.
But the thing that should underpack that for me, underneath it, should be, you make a decision right now. First and foremost, is you got a fan base, right? Now, if you're not going to win trophies, certainly straight away, what are you pulling them in with? So if you're saying, well, we'll be a team that starts off aiming for mid-table and then maybe aiming for challenging for a Conference League place because that's the lowest European place. Okay, well, get them in by playing attractive footballing. Get some players in who kids want their name on the back of the shirts. Get them in the door, and then at least people will come to the game going, can't wait to watch my team. They mightn't. It's easy to sit there and go, should aim to win the league, and you do it like this, right? But that should be their aim, and you get professionals in and people who are good at doing it to go on that journey with you. But to me, sort of like the first steps on that ladder should be, our first aim is to make it an exciting team for the fans to come and watch. So it's either a manager who really throws everything at it to get the results. Because if we're going in, if I'm going to Goodison 19 times a season, or Bramley Moor as it'll be, Everton New Stadium as it'll be, and I know that Everton are going to go on the front foot most weeks, and we've got some attacking, exciting players, I'm going to enjoy going the game. Now, we might still finish 8th, 9th, 10th, but we're going for it, and we've got good, skillful players. Everyone loves Njai, because he'll take the ball and he'll beat a couple of plays. Well, the team really should have 3 or 4 of Illiman and Njai's in, or the squad at least, to get you off your seat. But we don't. Everything is so safe. And this isn't all down to Sean Dyche. Rafa Benitez started this journey of you just get everyone behind the ball and you hope to get a corner or a free kick, and it's why he fell out with players. My first sort of aim, if I was sitting in front of them, would say your responsibility is to make Evertonians want to go the match again and get players in and get on the front foot and play on the front foot. That should be your first aim. Now, if this manager says, I can do that, right, that's what you're telling me you want, right, we'll play 4-2-4 and we'll go for it. At least people are doing
4-2-4, that'd be a hell of a formation.
2 wingers, 2 forwards, and then 6 defenders, really, because that's what it was.
Yeah, 4-4-2, but played out.
You're 2 wingers, yeah. So you go, and if he went, yeah, I'll do that. Watch, and he done it, then fine. But people, at least you go, at least we're trying to win the game. Then we can argue the nuances. We can go, well, no, we had a better midfielder who could get all over the pitch and give us, and then you can piece something in. But for too long, for me, it's at the top of the club's been the same. Everyone's just been throwing the hot potato to someone else because they don't want to deal with it. And that's just petered through the team. So we're almost just in this holding pattern of when we get to that ground. I've heard fans say to me, the minute we get to the ground, Sean Dyche will play more attacking football and it'll be totally different. And I'm going,
won't be there.
Why? But even if he was, it's like, why this
They're called excuses, Baz.
This coach has done things one way all of his career. He's not going to go the same as Pep Guardiola has played the way he plays. He's not going to go to Everton and just go on playing direct now, long ball.
I know, yeah.
So you wouldn't expect him to, and you shouldn't expect him
to. But we talk about on this channel often around the difference between excuses and reasons. A ready-made excuse, number one, change of ownership. It'll all be better when the new owners come in. Yeah. Ready-made excuse number two, new stadium. Neither of those are reasons for what's going on right now, but they're excuses. And anyone who uses, I don't mean fans, because we're on the outside looking on, aren't we? But people inside the organisation, if they're not doing stuff because we have to wait for change of ownership, or we have to wait till we move.
Let me stop you. What do you believe's happening? Do you believe, not your business head of how correct, proper stuff should happen? What's your sort of belief as a fan? Have John Blaine the fan, not John Blaine the businessman here.
They're the same person.
Okay,
so what's the question?
The question is, do you believe people in the football club as a whole, I call it that, and not individualising?
No.
So which camp are you in? When we get to the new stadium, when we get new owners, we can deal with everything then, or we do the right thing regardless of whether we get new owners.
It's clearly the second.
And that's not, and you as a business, John Blaine, then would say that
the same
is. No, what I mean is that the correct way to do it? Yes or no?
What, do stuff?
Just wait for someone to take over.
No, absolutely not.
And I think that's happening right the way through.
No, that's what I've just said. The fan on the outside looking in. Maybe I just didn't do it very well, right? Every time we hear anybody anywhere, and it's often fans repeating what they've heard or whatever, that we can't do X until we got new owners. Can't do Y until we're in the new stadium. Both of those are complete and utter balderdash, right? Because right now, decisions need to be made. Now, my understanding would be that there are sufficiently good people on the non-playing side to know the things that need to be done, right?
Yeah.
So why aren't they happening? Because they're waiting for approval off somebody. Now, if the approval that they're waiting for is for the, de facto chair of the board, John Spellman, to say yay or nay, a man who no one's ever seen, no one's ever heard of prior to him rocking up here, and it will disappear into the darkness as soon as the ownership changes and they shake out the people to bring in their own, he could be doing untold damage, right?
Yeah.
Because he's got some remit from the current owner, which I don't know what it is. Don't spend money, I don't know, right?
Yeah, whatever it is.
But we can brush all that away, okay? And we can say, so I'll ask you a question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Do you think we should have got more points from the last 2 games?
Absolutely.
How many more?
At least 3.
At least 3. So you're not even insisting that we win both of them, are you?
No, but I said going into the 2 away games, no less than 4 points.
Right, no less than 4.
Because, West Ham away is a tough game on paper. It is. It's a tricky game over the year. But I'm thinking the Moyes is West Ham. But it's still a difficult place to go. We went and won there last year and we lost it. Coming away from the game, watching them, they were dreadful.
My supplementary question was, having watched both games...
But I knew Southampton were there for the taking.
Having watched both games, how many points should we have got in your view?
Having watched both, this is difficult.
Based on the opposition, not on what we did. Bear in mind, in other words, the performance of the opposition.
We should have at least got 4. Okay. And I could say, we could
argue for 6, could you?
But the goalkeepers made some good saves for us.
A different style, asserting yourself.
Possibly, but we should have at least got 4, John.
Okay.
And we haven't. We got 1.
So if it was 4 more than we got, you'd be saying that's 6, right?
4 out the 2 away games, Everton.
Sorry, not 4 more than you
should have got 4 points.
Yeah, we should have beat Southampton and perhaps drew at West Ham. That might have been par, but it shouldn't have been. If we beat Southampton, it wouldn't have been impossible that we could have beat West Ham as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So we might.
And I actually think we would have. We may well have beat them had we won at Southampton.
Yeah. So we'd end up with 5 more points than we've got.
And be
4 points off Champions League.
Yeah. No, I know.
That's how cacked this division is right now.
The league's rubbish.
Yeah. 4 points off Champions League if we could beat Southampton and then beat West Ham. Mad.
And yet we could, if results
That's just 2 results.
If results went the way they should, the way people will predict them going forward, we'll be in the bottom 3 at Christmas.
Yeah.
And we'll be in a huge hole because we'll just toss off 7 or 8 games now. We'll get to January and go, okay, we're in the shit. And now we're going to have to win these kind of games and all that. And that's the worry. Like I said right at the start, it could play out totally different.
Do you think Wolves, who are being caricatured as a decent team who've had an appalling run of fixtures, will suddenly pop up and start winning games all of a sudden and push themselves out the bottom 3?
I think they'll beat some of the teams around them, yeah. Absolutely. Wouldn't surprise me if they come to Goodison and won. Because they have got.
Would that be more about them or about us?
I don't know. It depends how we approach the game. They're beatable forever. Brentford and Wolves are the 2 games Everton need 6 points from.
Yeah.
If they're to make sure they're in touch.
Yeah.
And they're also, Brentford are, but Wolves are biased. If Everton weren't to win either of those games, then they're going to find it very difficult. They're going to have to produce unbelievable form in the second half of the season to get themselves away from another dogfight.
The reason I ask it is because I would tend to lean towards, they have better players.
They have got better players
manager,
than what they've shown.
And so on. And then they've shown. But once you're down there, the pressure's different. Can our group of players go to that well again if they do find themselves in the bottom 3? And then Leicester don't get a points deduction because they then start putting the hat on that hook and so on and so forth.
Look at Palace. They had the win and then a draw and everyone went, right, they've started and then Fulham go and beat them. Yeah. So they're back in the mix. Wolves have had a good win, but who knows if it'll carry on. It might do, it might not. Everton could bounce back with a win against Brentford, but if Brentford come to Goodison and win, you're in massive trouble going to United. I would suggest we'll get nothing at United Amarim's first Premier League home game. I think it'd be find it very difficult. And then you're on that Wolves game then going, my God, we haven't won in 5.
And United are a good example of you can have the best players or the most expensive. Let's call them the most expensive. But if whatever happens with the manager and the relationship between them, the outcomes don't happen, do they? Van Nistelrooy's just done himself no harm, has he?
No,
with his
no, he's done
interim
well.
period.
He's done well.
But United are still 13th, neutral goal difference, 15 points. But the new manager and the owners can go, yeah, but we're only 4 points off Champions League, because the division is so low in value, right? And Liverpool, as you say, crikey, the buggers have just run away with it. Let's City, Chelsea, Arsenal, whoever, get the finger out.
And that's a bigger indictment, not because Liverpool are a great side, but that's a bigger indictment that Liverpool have won 9 of the 11 games because teams are just not good enough.
That's right. Yeah.
There's such a gap in ability. And that's the way it is, isn't it? For us, that's what I'm saying.
They play on the front foot, don't they?
I just want us to play. Listen, I get quality of players will dictate. Of course, it always does. It's dictated forever how successful you can be. But you can put a team
in this league
together that won't be in any trouble, and then you can argue the toss of whether it can get into Europe or not. That's by the by. But the players that Everton have got shouldn't be anywhere near a relegation battle. And yet we talked ourselves into a position where it seems like it's a relegation battle.
I think that's a fair wrap-up almost, because I said before, what's really getting to me is the talking down of our club. And because by the very nature, the only man who ever talks about our football club, who works for it, is the manager, then that drives the narrative. And his narrative currently is obviously thinking of his next job as much as anything else, which is good because he doesn't want relegation on his CV. He wants to paint it as a really difficult environment to work. And I just think that Kev Thelwell and Colin Chong, as the two principals, are overseeing this and are either doing stuff behind the scenes and not telling us, or they're just letting it meander, because the underpinning cultural perception is, until we get to Bramley Moor, this is what we are. Yeah.
And they're probably telling him that.
And change of ownership, this is what we are.
Dan says it's Dyche's fault he isn't looking to improve his coaching team. Attacking coach, set piece coach, but not surprising as Dyche won't be here in January. Brian wants Dyche out, Freaking in and Hoofball out. Mark says, was painfully boring that match, and also West Ham Stadium is awful. One of the worst away grounds I've been to. A lot of our fans stayed downstairs at the bar and didn't come back up in the second half. I don't
really? I didn't. You've got to be on the lower bit.
AIFC says, hi guys, the record is not great, but think we need to stick with Dyche till the end of the season. Players, coach, management and scouts over the years are to blame for Everton. Everton Vikings says his style of football will ensure we are in a dogfight with the possibility of relegation, which is quite literally doesn't have to be that way, but we're just extending and extending and extending his chances, and it's utterly ridiculous. Bill says, another week, another failure to win. According to the Bobble, Dyche is losing the players, with several not happy with our style of running in the training. May explain some of the injuries and the drop-off in the last 20 minutes of games. He also trained with a back three all week and switched to a 4 on the day. This type of confusion won't be helping. Anyway, we can't draw our way to survival. Ipswich and Palace will go for wins. The tactics and coaching are painfully limited for me. It's okay saying it's a decent point away, but it puts pressure on games at home, and we don't win home games. We need to find a way to break down teams at home. The lack of intensity, pressing or will to win is scary. I'm worried that this manager can't do it, so it's the inevitable for me. If we can't beat Brentford, he has to go. Mike, this club is a joke. Never felt like this before, and I've watched this be crap for over 40 years. Bill says the Freakins chopping and changing at Roma offers me hope they have standards, but also concerns me they'll be like Mashiri. I'm hoping they're more professional and go through the doff, whoever that is. Gary Ward says congrats on the viewing numbers. Right now everything is being sucked into the Dyche doom spiral. James says, John, you mentioned 12 to 18 months ago that you need to hit the bottom for the rise to happen. When was our rock bottom? Or hasn't it happened yet?
I think we've been, no advertising intended, bobbling along that bottom for a while now, because it's cultural, isn't it? That's the real issue, right? And I think there's new ways of showing how on the bottom we are in my world, and the manager exhibits them far too often. I mean, I refer you to what somebody told me pre-match down at Southampton. Just tell him to STFU, really. Because talking the club down and talking the players down, of course, is going to get a reaction. And if the other bubble really does have some insight that players are starting to get annoyed, I'm not surprised, because if you slag me off in public and I've got no right to reply, then I'm not going to be happy, am I? And what they need is to pull together, not go divisive, because it just doesn't work, does it? It just doesn't work.
I just had something that before I get back to it sent to me. David Coote, the referee, has been caught on camera saying he hates Scousers and he hates Klopp.
Oh dear. It's not good, is it? For an impartial man who has a job, which is...
Well, that's why I laugh when people tell me the referees aren't biased. Makes me laugh.
They're human beings, mate.
Adam says, plenty of panic over the Freakins picking wrong managers at Roma, but if Kevin Thelwell is staying on past this season, should it not be up to him to choose our manager? Are you panicking? I look at it as being decisive.
Which?
What the Freakins have done.
I think it's cause for concern myself. Notwithstanding that, and I think I tweeted about it yesterday or the day before, if you realise you made a mistake, try and fix it. But if they make a third mistake, i.e. third manager in the season, and he's not performing, if they're totally and utterly just blaming the manager, then that's a concern, isn't it? Because they can pick whoever they want and it might not make any difference.
There's no magic one, though, is there? To say you've got the right fella. You hope you have. But
no, well, that's why people...
The key is reacting, and they've reacted, so you know that. I'm quite sceptical about them, but that part of it, I've got no issue with.
No,
well, they've done well.
Because it's a conundrum, isn't it? If you think about it, they've made a couple of decisions, albeit maybe it was the lady who's gone who made the first one, right? But they've made a couple of decisions to change the manager, neither of which have worked. Okay? And then if they react to that by saying, well, oops, you're the wrong guy, and then they sack him. Man could have waited for him to get to the dressing room and talk to his players before they did that, maybe. But
to be honest, he got 2 games more than he was told he was getting.
Well, there you go. And therefore, then you're into, almost if you knew he was a stopgap while you were fanning the guy you really wanted. So it's going to be interesting to see who they appoint, won't it? But whoever it is, have they done it yet? No. But once they've appointed a new manager, a bit like us with Deitch, that's the manager who perhaps will potentially end up getting longer than he should, because you can't keep doing it, can you? No.
Right, last few. Bill says we have to get Njai in the number 10. He's becoming second left back. He has to take 5 players on just to get in there half, and it's making 10 tackles a game. If Moyes was here, he'd be straight in the 10. Adam says, how bad was that away end? I was 3 rows down from the highest row. The pitch was in a different postcode. Thank God we shot towards us first half, as I couldn't see what happened down the far end. Second half probably nothing happened.
Yeah.
John is right, says Everton Viking. Dyche doesn't know how to use the squad. Let's be honest, he's not a modern manager. Ryan says, hope you lot are having a nice, pleasant international break.
Count the hours till we're playing again.
First day back in the UK after 10 years. Going to Goodison next week and absolutely buzzing. Was also buzzing I missed that West Ham game while I was flying on the plane. Do you think it's a shame we have to endure Dyche ball for the last season at Goodison? Let's see what happens. Jay said, but enjoy the game. Jay says, I was initially okay with the point. However, looking at what Ipswich did at Spurs and Newcastle at Forest to a lesser degree, kind of think with a bit more ambition, it would have paid us back, as Dyche would say. Gary says, I'm going to be disappointed if the Freaking group hold their first press conference without a new manager standing with them. John says, Dyche plays Keane. He's had a good season. Dyche drops Keane. This unit has kept a lot of clean sheets last season. Dyche is hopeless. Dyche out now. Matt says, what do you think of Match of the Day? Commenting on how Everton fans should feel. Very positive. Getting very tired of the club and media
lazy
telling us how we should feel. Yeah.
For the worst game where they had 2 minutes to do the whole thing.
Just people just saying things so, you can go, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
It's
let's have a
neutral.
look. Oh, they haven't lost for that. They're doing all right.
Yeah, totally.
Brian says, I can honestly say it is at the least slightly perturbing. Roma are about to change their manager again. This is a big criticism about Managerial. Well, he never sacked 2 in 2 months, did he, or 3 months? So he probably should have done. Bill says easy wins for the Freakins, new board, new CEO, new comms director, new manager. Steve says we're doomed to repeat these awful performances and results till the current manager buggers off. The players should be doing better with finishing and retaining possession,
True.
but he makes the wrong call after wrong call. The football is awful.
His worst calls are the ones he doesn't make. Because
Matt says,
he did us.
yeah, we won't get relegated, but it's self-inflicted unnecessary discomfort and it's simply not acceptable. Right, we're going. We'll be on more than a game at half 2. Things can only get better. Take it easy. See you in a bit. Bye.